Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Chase with Jace. And this is our Sunday, pretty much Monday morning quarterback edition of the show. We're getting everybody tuning in as we're going on Facebook, YouTube, and X right now to talk about last night. Man, this is a show for the fans, and this is your time as the LSU fans, to show your frustration and your disappointment in what was an absolutely embarrassing night for LSU. It was totally unacceptable, and we talk about the effort, the preparation from everything. You kind of look at it across the board. You look at it from a coach's perspective, absolutely underwhelming. A player's effort perspective, execution, just in terms of who was the better team. Obviously, Texas A&M was the better team on Saturday night. Yeah, it, yeah. There's so many adjectives to describe about this game and how disappointing this game was. The first half looked like it was going to be a great game. It looked like it was going to be a great atmosphere in Tiger Stadium. You go off to a 18-14 lead going to the second half, and then they kick off the football to start the second half, and everything. What? Yeah, it was terrible. Melissa Ward, good evening. Hope you're doing great, Miss Melissa. Hope you're having yourself a great morning. As we're going to definitely take in a lot of people that want to voice their frustrations, talk about the LSU game last night. It was a dark night for LSU football, and if there was any glimmer, if there was any light at the end of the tunnel, as we were talking about this game heading to this week, it was okay. You've lost two games. You're in a position where you had to win out, but if all of the negative talk, all the negative noise could be quieted down if you go out, you have a great performance in Tiger Stadium against Texas A&M, you get a big win at home, and I think that will help quiet a lot of the noise. Obviously, there's always going to be outside noise, but if you get a win against a top three team in Texas A&M, like you will feel better about yourself and where you're at. But and for the most part in the first half, you felt like that you belong. You were winning that game in the first half. You executed in the first half, but the second half came, and man, it's like LSU forgot to play football in that second half. But we'll talk about it. But obviously, guys, if you're watching this, we're at three different platforms right now. We're on X, YouTube, and Facebook. So if you don't mind, if you can go and subscribe to our channel, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, subscribe to our, follow us on X if you're watching this on X. But yeah, this is an opportunity for you. I'll be here for the next couple of minutes to talk about the game. But the second half, man, the first thing I want to bring up in the second half was for 2 years in a row against Texas A&M, you were outclassed. You were totally dominated in the second half. In fact, the last 2 years when we talk about this Texas A&M game, you were outscored 66-6 in the second half. That's right, 66-6. That's something crazy like that, right? That's totally unacceptable. All facets of the game, you are outclassed. You were totally dominated in. Offensively, defensively, so like whatever area, whatever box you want to check, you make that check mark. Whatever box you want to check. Offensively, defensively, special teams, you were out coached. And then Texas A&M fans really, and what is, you're known at Death Valley to be one of the most intimidating places to play. It has special atmosphere in the first half, but the way this game went awry, Texas A&M's fans were overtaking the stadium by midway towards the end of the third quarter, and it became a home game for Texas A&M. I haven't experienced many losses at LSU at night, or just covering Brian Kelly the last couple of years. I mean, Brian Kelly has not lost many games at home, but when he's lost at home, it has become really bad. You look at it, the first year, Tennessee, that was a blowout. Obviously, it was a little bit different situation because it was kind of a building year at that point. You're really building something. It was Brian Kelly's first year. You weren't the better team. Tennessee was the better team that year. You were out Will Campbell in that game, and Jaden Daniels wasn't the Jaden Daniels he was in that second year. So you had that loss. Last year, the Alabama game, I knew the bad weather would give Alabama an advantage, but you couldn't stop a mobile quarterback. You couldn't stop Jalen Milroe from tucking and running the football. He ran all over you, made you look like a Heisman Trophy candidate. He really looked like a Heisman Trophy candidate that night. And you look at this year. Now, Texas A&M is a really good football team. Like I mentioned it earlier this week, when Mike Elko got hired at Texas A&M, I knew that was going to be one of those hires that really scared me covering LSU, because he is a great football coach. You saw what he did at Duke. He was a Kelly assistant at Notre Dame. He's a great defensive-minded coach, and when you have the resources to build around, that could be something that could be really dangerous when he gets there to Texas A&M, and he's shown it. And Brian Kelly has really struggled against Texas A&M. He lost his first year to Jimbo Fisher. Remember, LSU punched their ticket to the SEC championship game, and they had a chance if they were to win out. If they won that SEC championship game, they beat Georgia in the SEC championship. They're in the college football playoff with 2 losses, but they didn't even get to that opportunity to play Georgia for a chance to get in that national championship picture, because they lost to Texas A&M, who had a losing record, if you remember at that time, and did not make a bowl game, and Jimbo was getting fired. Now, the second year, you had Jaden Daniels. It was at home, and Jaden Daniels was able to bail you out that game against Texas A&M. You had the fiasco last year where you were winning that football game in the first half against Texas A&M, and then that's when they pulled out Connor Wegman. They put in Marcel Reed, and the rest was history. You could not stop Marcel Reed from running the football. Garrett Nussmeier, the offense implodes. Garrett Nussmeier throws 3 interceptions. That was last year. And then same thing here as well this year. You totally outclassed in the second half. Melissa Ward has a question. Can they bring back Nick Saban if things continue to go south? Well, Miss Melissa, I know that's kind of like everybody's dream to bring back Nick Saban and kind of finish what he started, because these expectations we talk about at LSU about, like non-wins is the absolute floor of this program and what they should do, and 9 wins is not acceptable. But the LSU fans, they want to compete for national championships and be in the championship picture. Nick Saban was the one that really built those expectations here at LSU, and you got to give him credit for that. But I just don't see how Nick Saban gets back into coaching personally. I know a lot of coaches usually have the itch to go back, and you've seen that time and time again with coaches when they go into broadcasting. They go in for a year or two, they get the itch back, and they won't get back to coaching. But by Nick Saban's age, and he was talking about Miss Terry as well. I think he joked about with Jimmy Sexton, the agent who represents a lot of these college coaches, that he doesn't want Jimmy Sexton to talk to Miss Terry because he throws out some of those big numbers we talk about in these coaching contracts. She'll probably be tempted for him to go back into coaching. But I think Nick Saban really enjoys what he's doing right now, and you see a different side of Nick Saban as well in the media. And I think he truly enjoys it, and just breaking down the game and breaking down games. And I think it's a change of pace for him. And be honest with you, one of the reasons why Nick Saban left Alabama was because he just doesn't agree with this era of college football. and he doesn't agree with the NIL, the transfer portal, how players want money, how players are willing to just bolt out and not get developed. And I think that's what Nick Saban really enjoyed at Alabama, was developing the players. And you don't really get a chance to do that anymore in developing college players because of NIL, transfer portal, and those things, because it's hard in this day of age now to keep a player and develop him for 3 years. It is because of the transfer portal and how everything is going. But I appreciate your comment, Melissa. I just don't see how Nick Saban goes back to coaching. I really don't. But I do appreciate the question. If anybody has any questions or comments, feel free to chime in as we talk about LSU's loss last night, 49-25 to Texas A&M. Before we even hit November, LSU's playoff chances have been obliterated. They're gone. They're toast. As far as that goes, their season is over. And it raises a lot of questions about what is the future of LSU, what is the future of this program, and going forward. And there are a lot of questions, I have to say, about this team. What does it look like going forward? Who do you keep? Who do you retain? Who do you get rid of? I know a lot of people have been impatient with Brian Kelly, and really so. I mean, I've been one. I mean, hey, I've been actually been one of his champions. The last couple of years. I've been patient with him. Like, I've given the benefit of the doubt when a lot of people didn't want him in the first place to begin with. And I think Brian Kelly, in a lot of ways, like I kind of compared him to James Franklin. He came in a tough situation. I mean, Ed Orgeron, I know he's beloved here. He won the national championship at LSU. But at the end of the day, how it ended with him after that national championship, the program was going in the wrong direction. So I mean, it was the right call to get rid of Ed Orgeron at the time, because of how the program was trending after that national championship. Brian Kelly did a really great job his first year of kind of stabilizing that and overachieving, overperforming. And this was a limited roster with the situation as well. And what he was able to do in that first year, beat Alabama, go to the SEC championship game. I mean, he had SEC coach of the year type of year in that first year. But then that's been the problem. That's when it's peaked. That's when it's peaked there at LSU. They haven't been able to build off of that success, off of that momentum. Year two, you had Jaden Daniels for another year. You're kind of lining everything up in that second year, just like this year, right? You bring back your defensive coordinator, Matt House, in your second year. Jaden Daniels returns. Your Mike Denbrock returns as the play caller. You have a lot of players. You hit in the transfer portal in your first year. You also went back in the transfer portal again to fill some needs, and you felt like that year two you could have made a jump. Obviously, the offense did, but the defense did not. It was a terrible year from the defense, a historic worst. If he did not have an historic worst defense, you actually may be competing for a national championship in year two, because Jaden Daniels wins the Heisman Trophy. Year three is kind of a transition year. You bring in Garrett Nussmeier in year three. You don't spend as much money on your roster like you do previously as well. You don't do that. You don't spend as much money there on your roster. So that's another thing too. But year four, you're kind of lining everything up to where you can compete for a championship. And I think that's been another problem this year. Brian Kelly promised a whole lot. He really did. He promised a whole lot going into the year, that this was the best roster he's ever had. And last year, when he made the comment that, hey, we're taking receipts and we'll see you at the national championship, that kind of stuff. Well, the previous coaches, Ed Orgeron, Les Miles, Nick Saban, that's when you get into a problem, when you guarantee promises. When you promise fan bases like, this is the best roster, we're going to go back to a national championship. You notice that Ed Orgeron, as great as that team was in 2019, not once did he mention throughout the year that we're going to the national championship. We're going to win every game. we're going to be a national championship. We're going to be a national championship team. He did not make any promises that year. Nick Saban, he never goes and says that we're going to win the national championship. You never see him saying that. And so with Les, you never saw him say stuff like that either. Because they're going to hold you to it. And if you promise all of this and you don't deliver, then you see what happens. You see what happens at the end of the day. But we're going to break down the game a little bit, and then we'll kind of go with if you have some questions about the future of LSU, what it's looking like, and that kind of stuff, we can go into that a little bit. But just recapping the game itself, I mean, the first half, you had some moments. Now, Texas A&M made some mistakes to kind of really allow you to hang in that football game, take the lead in halftime. 18-14. I mean, it was great. It was a great first 30 minutes. It looked like it was going to be another fantastic evening and a fantastic game in Tiger Stadium in that first 30 minutes. But what really helped you get that lead, I mean, and I think that the players did not really give up too much on Brian Kelly or anything in the first half. They were playing really hard. I mean, you saw that they were executing in the first half. Garrett Nussmeier leads a great drive. I mean, that second drive of the game, they go right down the field to take some shots. You had the play where they throw the lob to Trey'Dez Green. Now Texas A&M tried to adjust and try to put two guys over there, but Trey'Dez Green still made a great play and went up to get that deep ball, jump off for the touchdown. I thought Harlan Berry was really gave the running game a spark in that first half, and I think he's your best running back. And what really I say about Harlan Berry is what stands out most about him is his kind of patience. He kind of reminds me, in terms of his patience and explosiveness in the whole, kind of reminds me a lot of Le'Veon Bell in that kind of aspect, because he would be patient, wait for the holes to develop, and then boom, you would see him explode for 5-6 yards. He's not the biggest guy, but he showed me a lot, and it was really, I mean, surprised me a whole lot. I know he was a 5-star coming out of high school, but I was kind of worried about him being that small, and trying to be an SEC type of running back. But he's got the type of patience and explosiveness to be a really great player at LSU. And you saw that. You saw some flashes with him in the running game. And I think that was a positive, because we know that the running game, we talk about all the issues all year long about how that really been a bigaboo. It's really been a negative for this LSU football team. And you saw that they were able to run the football too, which is always a thing that they struggled over the year. So maybe they found something with Harlan Berry running the football. There's not a lot of positives we can talk about this game, but that was certainly one of them, was Harlan Berry and the way that, and he was, and Brian Kelly was asked about this. Why did Harlan Berry only touch the ball one time in the second half? He said, well, the game got away from us and we were down. I mean, you could have used him a lot on that first drive in the second half. After the score, because I mean, obviously your defense gave up a touchdown, but you're only down by 3 points. It's not no chance, no time to hit the panic mode and just start going no hurry up offense. But yeah, it just really got out of their hands in the second half. Talk about Harlan Berry, how that was a positive. Trey'Dez Green continues to be a mismatch problem. He's been a positive for you all season long. Let's see. First half, you had the block punt. Jace Thomas did a great job of getting off there and blocking the punt. And when you have a block punt, it definitely energizes the team. And I thought the team was pretty energized. I thought that was a great throw from Garrett Nussmeier to Barian Brown, the deep play, deep for 42 yards. We haven't really seen that all year. And that was a really good spark to your defense. Got a couple interceptions as well on Marcel Reed. Obviously, Texas A&M scored touchdowns on their first two drives, but your defense was able to get a couple of turnovers. A.J. Halsey, it seemed like the secondary, the back end of the defense has probably been your most productive part of this football team. A.J. Halsey gets an interception in the end zone. Mansour Delane bats a pass up in the air, and Harold Perkins gets an interception too. So those are some of the positives in the first half. I mean, hey, you're winning the football game 18-14 in the first half, and you feel like the crowd was in it. It looked like it was going to be a great game. Second half happened, man, and you took a gut punch. It was like Texas A&M got the football to start the second half. They go right down the field. You had a chance to stop Texas A&M on third down, and Marcel Reed just tucks it and runs it for a touchdown. And then you're down only by 3. I mean, you kind of expected, okay, Texas A&M was going to make adjustments and they're going to try to get the momentum back. Usually the start of the third quarter, when you make that transition, it's when you're on the road that this is your opportunity to go and take advantage of it, because usually the first drive of the second half, that's when the crowds are starting to kind of follow back in from concession stand or whatever, using the restroom, stuff like that, and they follow their way back into the stadium. And that is a point where you can try to take advantage of it. And I think Texas A&M did that. But hey, you're only down by 3 points. You're like, okay, time for the offense to respond, but you go 3 and out, and then the punt happened. When that punt return happened from Casey Concepcion, I knew at that point that I don't think LSU was going to recover from that. I mean, because the way they scored is a big momentum play. Like I talked about the block punt for a safety. You know how that just big special teams plays, and that's why the third phase of the game is always talked about when we talk about special teams. When a big play like that happens, when you have a punt return for a touchdown, it just brings so much juice and energy to a team when a big play like that. So when Texas A&M had the punt return for a touchdown, it took not only it brought energy to Texas A&M, to their sideline, but it takes the juice out of the entire stadium. It takes the energy out of the entire team, and you saw it. Like after that punt return happened, that is when this game died. That is when Tiger Stadium died. That is when this team died, and they never recovered after that punt return for a touchdown. It went downhill from there. But how bad? I don't think I've ever seen as bad of a any quarter, just not only the third quarter, but just any quarter from what I've seen. They were outscored 21-0 in the second half, and in that third quarter, 21-0 in that third quarter. And I believe LSU only had 14 yards of offense in that third quarter. Totally unexcusable. They outscored LSU 35-7 in the second half. The only touchdown LSU did score in the second half was when they pulled Garrett Nussmeier out and they put in Michael Van Buren at the end of the game. And Michael Van Buren was able to lead a touchdown drive through a touchdown pass to Kyle Parker. Probably was the best looking drive of the football game. That was for sure. But yeah, just not a lot of great things to talk about, and there are a lot of major questions about what this team looking forward, what kind of changes you make. This was a make or break year for LSU. So I don't know exactly what you can do with it, because hey, when the ship is sinking and there's a lot of holes you need to fix. Man, that thing is still going. That thing is still going to sink. I mean, there's just so many things you have to fix. I mean, where do you start? Well, it all starts with the head coach, right? It all starts up top. That is the reason why he's getting paid this much money. That's the reason why Brian Kelly is getting paid that much, because it all starts off at the top. He's going to take the blame for this for sure. And in the post game, he took the blame. He took it on the chin and talked about it falls on him. He took responsibility for this, which, you can say in other press conferences he hasn't. But he understands that this is not what is expected for this team. This is not what is expected for this program moving forward. But, yeah, where do you start? And you got to find a way. You raise $62 million? Do you buy out Brian Kelly's contract and start all over? It's just a lot of things. And Brian Kelly, like I talked about at the beginning of the show, he did a good job of coming in and stabilizing the program after what happened with Orgeron, bringing them to the SEC championship. But ever since then, I mean, there's not really a lot of things positive you can say about this regime. I mean, when we talk about just physicality, I mean, LSU is a softer team. And that's been really the identity of LSU football for 20 years as being the physical team. Like, hey, LSU sometimes may not win the game, but when you go in Death Valley, when you play against LSU, you're going to have to earn it, and you're going to have to, like, you're going to be beaten up and bruised by playing LSU. That was been their identity, and that identity has been lost, and maybe lost for now. Yeah. And what's ironic about this game, and we talk about LSU and Texas A&M and being outmanned and outclassed for the most part for in the second half for 2 years in a row. Guess who their strength and conditioning coach is? It's Tommy Moffitt. It was your former LSU strength and conditioning coach who was there. Tommy Moffitt was there for all of those national championship teams, the ones with Saban, the ones with Les, the one with Ed Orgeron. He was there for all three of those national championship teams. And he helped build that culture. He helped build that, hey, we're the hammer, not the nail mentality. And you were the nail Saturday night. And I know this game meant a whole lot to Tommy Moffitt and just all of the years he contributed to LSU and building that program. Tommy Moffitt was a huge reason why LSU got to their success with being a strength and conditioning coach. And he wanted it. And that was one of the early decisions Brian Kelly made, was to not retain Tommy Moffitt and not bring him back. He brought Jake Flint with him, and yeah, that has really shown, because for the second year in a row, you were not the physical team. Texas A&M pushed you around, and they were in better, better shape, better condition. You name it, it was everything, man. They were the better team, and you gotta give credit to Texas A&M. It is hard to go into Death Valley at night and to totally own the stadium, but you did. You totally took that over, and you totally won this football game because you dominated this football game in the second half, and you ran away with it. You made adjustments. LSU did not make adjustments, and you saw that second half, right? First half, you were in a dogfight. It was 18-14. LSU was winning, but look at what happened at halftime. And sometimes you have to look at the coaching, right? You're up 18-14. You go into the locker room. Texas A&M, they make the adjustments that are needed. LSU does not make the adjustments that they're needed, and man, you get out-muscled. And what is also concerning too, we talk about this getting outplayed and out-executed and all that, but what also we need to talk about is how dysfunctional it is on the sideline. You see Brian Kelly yell at Joe Sloan, and that was the sequence in the first half, right? You're up 15-14. It's like 20 seconds left at halftime. You just burned your third time out of the football game, and you're inside the 20-yard line. We can talk about the red zone a lot this year and how the red zone has been a really concerning throughout this whole season, and has been a big problem for you. And that showed up again towards the end of the first half. And you have no timeouts. You don't take a shot in the end zone here. What Joe Sloan calls, he throws a short pass. They call a short pass at Aaron Anderson. But there's a lot of problems there. It's like 3rd and 8. You need 8 yards to pick up the first down. You throw like a 2-yard pass, 3-yard pass that wasn't going to get there. That wasn't going to get to the sticks. That wasn't across the sticks. And if you get tackled in bounds and it's 4th down, you can't go there and spike the ball, obviously. You get tackled in bounds, you have no timeout, there's less than 20 seconds left. You're scrambling your field goal team out there. It's a total disaster. You don't call that play in that situation. You saw Brian Kelly, if you watched the TV, if you weren't at the game, you watched the television copy, that you saw Brian Kelly say, hey, Joe, you can't call that play. We have no timeouts left. And yeah. Is it your fault we're stuck with him in this buyout? Crystal Peters. So is it your fault we stuck with him in this buyout? I won't say it's my fault, but um, yeah, I mean, I mentioned this earlier, Crystal, that I was one of those guys. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I can probably was a little bit more patient with him than other people were. Um, but at the same time, this was the year to prove it. This was the year to prove it in year 4 that you can go and win a championship or show that you can make the college football playoff. Like this was a playoff year of bust because you saw what the other coaches did, and this is when you didn't have the extended college football playoff. You've had the 14 playoff, or you had the BCS national championship, and LSU still found this way. I mean, besides Alabama, the team that's won the most championships over the last 25 years. The team to do that the most has been LSU. And they've done so with a 4-team college football playoff with a national championship. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't one of those guys when Brian Kelly took the job. Like, I wasn't one of those guys that said that he was my first option. I didn't say like, oh, LSU needs to go all in on Brian Kelly. They need to bring him over here to Baton Rouge. I mean, I wasn't. I was actually a little bit shocked that was the guy that LSU ended up hiring, but I wasn't like totally opposed to it, but yeah, I wouldn't say it's. I think there's other people, Crystal, to answer your question, that that are stuck with him in the buyout. Obviously, it's the people that have paid him that contract and to give him that much money. But appreciate the comment there, Crystal. Oh man, this is tough. I mean, this is tough to talk about a game like this, guys. But hey, it's time shows your time to vent. I mean, obviously, you have, like Brian Kelly said, every right to be frustrated with a performance like this. Yeah, I mean, every right to be frustrated with this. I mean, this was. Now I'm kind of a young guy. I haven't experienced the Curly Hallman days and the Jerry DiNardo days and in those type of years. But as far as what I'm concerned, this is like the dark ages of LSU football, the way it is now, because you don't know what the future may hold. You don't know what that future may look like because now you're stuck with a guy that obviously has not gotten the job done at LSU. You got to pay him $60 million to get rid of him, and then you got to raise enough money because the next coach after Brian Kelly is not going to be cheap. You're not going to get him on a discount or anything. So you're going to have to find enough money to raise to get him on board with you. So that's another thing. You got to raise enough money to get him on board with you. You also got to pay for assistant coaches. You also got to pay NIL. It's a different world now. So you got to raise enough money for the athletes because after all, at the end of the day, it's the players out there that have to go and execute. And you got to you're going to have good players. You bring them in there. You got to pay for them. You got to pay them too. So, yeah, I mean, it's a lot that you have to account for in this day of age of college football. It's a lot you have to pay for. It's a lot that you have to account for. But hey, it's college football now, and a lot of the assistant coaches' mistakes. That's been a reason for the downfall as well at LSU over the last couple of years. You saw. Now you hit it with Mike Denbrock. Mike Denbrock was a great play caller that worked with Jaden Daniels as an offensive coordinator, but you lost him to Notre Dame. Now he's at Notre Dame calling plays. You promote Joe Sloan. Obviously, that has back-railed. That has not worked out with Joe Sloan calling plays. It has not worked when you hired Matt House to be your defensive coordinator. That did not work. You got rid of 2 guys that are currently on the staff. You brought them back. You got rid of Corey Raymond. That was a huge mistake. Now they fixed it by bringing him back, but you made that mistake in the first place by firing him. And Blake Baker, you got Blake Baker, your defensive coordinator, was on this coaching staff. He was the linebacker coach under Ed Orgeron. You got rid of him, and you brought him back to be your defensive coordinator. That was a mistake. Brad Davis has been like you say, underwhelming as the offensive line coach, and that's been a problem. The offensive line has not been good. And even last year when you had two guys, well, really four guys that got drafted, the offensive line, you still couldn't run the football with Will Campbell, Emory Jones, all those guys. You couldn't run the football last year as an offensive line. And now you bring a new offensive line, and you can tell this offensive line has really struggled. You saw both. I believe the offensive line gave up 5 sacks last night to Texas A&M. So you give up a sack on the left side. You give up a sack on the right side too. From both offensive tackles, you put in a freshman. Now you're gonna make mistakes. You're a freshman offensive tackle in the SEC. Carius Kern gave up a sack on the left side. Weston Davis has struggled this year. This offensive line has not been good this year, and I knew that was going to be a struggle for this football team. And at the beginning of the year, just seeing them in fall camp and how they struggled against LSU's defensive front, I knew that was going to be a struggle. But I didn't think it was going to be this bad. And I mean, you can't put all the blame on Garrett Nussmeier, on Garrett. And I feel for Garrett, really do. He has great intentions. You know, he loves LSU. He wants to do good for LSU. He came back when he had a chance to go to the NFL draft. He decided to come back. He wanted to bring LSU a national championship, so I can't fault him for that. And you know he wants to do good, and I know he's hurting just as much as the rest of the team is hurting, but just he's regressed in another year, and maybe the decision to come back has really hurt him, has definitely hurt him in the draft stock. And it's not really all his fault because you're dealing with an offensive line that's just not good. And he's been playing hurt this year. He's had to play tough through it. And he's not much. He's a pocket quarterback, you know. And the play calling has been pretty predictable. So he's been stacked against a lot of cards that have been against him going into the year. So that kind of leads into my next point I want to bring up is what should LSU do at the quarterback position moving forward? I mean, at this point, all your goals have been kind of dashed this year. You're not playing for anything meaningful as far as a college football playoff or a championship or anything like that. So you got nothing to lose. And Brian Kelly, I'm kind of surprised that we haven't seen him make this change, but I know they committed to Garrett Nussmeier. But if you're Brian Kelly, you saw what a mobile quarterback can do for you. You saw that by having Jaden Daniels here for 2 years. And when plays break down, when things are not there, he can go and tuck it and run and get you a first down when a play was not there to begin with. And you've seen how LSU has struggled against mobile quarterbacks. Marcel Reed, they've struggled against him. Jalen Milroe have struggled against him. Trinidad Chambliss this year. Diego Pavia this year. So you struggle against these mobile quarterbacks that can run the football. But hey, maybe you should put a mobile quarterback in, right? And make that change because Michael Van Buren is a mobile quarterback. He's a guy that can make some plays when the plays aren't there to be made. He can go and get you out of trouble. And is it time to look at Michael Van Buren to see what the future may hold? Because you know you're not going to have Nussmeier for another year. His eligibility is gone. So you know you're not going to have him again. So do you try Michael Van Buren out? Say, hey, what's the worst that can happen? I mean, you're already losing. You want to try him out and see what the future may hold. Is he your guy? Is he your quarterback for the future? I think at some point I would be shocked by the end of it, just how it's been looking, that you don't see Michael Van Buren. I think you do see him out there. And, you know, he drove the team down the field. I know it's kind of garbage time at that point. The game's been decided. So, but he did lead a touchdown drive late in that game. He made some plays at Mississippi State. He was a starting quarterback at Mississippi State as well last year. So give him a shot. See what he does. I mean, maybe LSU needs a kind of a change of pace right now. And it's hard to fault this on Garrett. And it's not, like I mentioned, it's not all Garrett's fault. They got other major issues they need to work on, but that's definitely been it. LSU, I think another player we need to bring up. I hate to call out college guys and college players just because they've worked so hard. They prepare for the season and everything. But at the end of the day, they got to go out there and make plays. Your players have to go out there and make plays. You bring them here, you pay them money. You got to treat them like professional athletes at this point because they're getting NIL deals. They're getting paid to play. So by that definition, you're a professional, in college football. So you won't have to deal with those things. But Harold Perkins, man, has been an underwhelming disappointment. We talk about how Garrett Nussmeier has regressed. I think we kind of have to bring Harold Perkins up in this as well. I mean, you saw how he had a great start of the season against Clemson, but man, I mean, to be a quarterback spot, you have to spot the quarterback. He did not have a great game against Vanderbilt. I thought it was his worst game that he's played at LSU. And then you saw that first touchdown that Marcel Reed scored, that he got out of position and gave up a long touchdown run. This whole LSU defense gave a long touchdown run, but he was out of position, did not spy Marcel Reed correctly, and he just hasn't made the splash plays we saw him make his freshman year. We haven't seen what we saw out of him against Arkansas. We've never truly seen that again, or we've never seen him flash like that ever again. And it's been disappointing because you saw the start of what that was going to be. That freshman 3-game period we saw about Harold Perkins, the second half of the Ole Miss game his freshman year. Then you saw what he did after that against Alabama in that win, and then that game against Arkansas where he took over that entire football game. Unfortunately, just haven't been able to see that from now on with Harold Perkins. So, yeah, number 7, number 18, man, just hasn't been the same when getting those jersey numbers this year. And unfortunately, number 18, number 7 have been underwhelming this year, both offensively and defensively. There's not a lot of positives you can say. Anytime you give up 35 points in the second half, there's not a whole lot of things you can say at that point. It's just like offensively, defensively, special teams. You saw Brian Kelly also chew out the special teams coordinator after giving up the punt return for a touchdown. Their kickoff return coverage wasn't good. Their punt return coverage wasn't good. Your offensive line struggled in pass protection and protecting Garrett Nussmeier. You couldn't throw the football down the field. Defensively, you couldn't stop the quarterback run. You couldn't get off the field on third down. The list goes on and on and on. I don't know how much more stuff I can say about this. I know it's very frustrating, but you enter the bye, and you enter the bye week. Another tough period for LSU. This is another week to the bye week is about LSU and looking at everything. When you're struggling this much, when you come into a season with a lot of expectations, and now before November even starts, you're looking at this season being over with. You're now looking at the situation like, okay, what's the problem? What are the problems in the organization? What are the problems? Remember, for Brian Kelly said at the press conference at the end, this is a football problem. If players are playing really hard, the players were playing really hard in the first half. You saw that. LSU was up. They're winning this football game in the first half, 18-14. What are the problems? It has to dive deeper in that, right? Is it a coaching problem? Is it a personnel problem? Is it a scheme problem? Like, you have to readjust everything. And that's what LSU is going to have to do during the bye week. They have to look at everything that's wrong. They have to reconsider everything. Reconsider coaches. Do we make changes from a coaching staff standpoint? Do you make coaches that way? Do you make some personnel changes, like I mentioned about Van Buren? Do you put him in there at quarterback? You take Nussmeier out. So you put Harlem Berry in as a running back the entire time? Do you change how things you do defensively if you're Blake Baker? You have to look at everything. If you're Brian Kelly, and if you even have a job, I mean, be honest with you, I don't know. Looking at the results, if LSU goes, let's say they go 6-6, so your 4 games you have left, you have a bye, you have Alabama on the road, which doesn't look good there. You got Arkansas, and that's a problem. Like, your Achilles heel has been against dual threat quarterbacks and defending dual threat quarterbacks. Guess what? You got a bunch of them coming up. Ty Simpson's playing like a Heisman Trophy quarterback right now. Now he's not as fast as other quarterbacks are, but he's pretty nimble on his feet, and he can run and beat you with his legs. So you got to deal with Ty Simpson coming up. You got to deal with Arkansas's quarterback Taylor Green can hurt you with his legs, and he can be a problem for you as well. Then you end things with John Mateer, and he can hurt you with his legs. All these quarterbacks can hurt you with their legs, and you're going to have to deal with all of those guys. And with the way it looks, like I can see LSU losing all three of those SEC games. And let's say you lose all three of those games, you beat Western Kentucky, you finish the season 6-6, and this was supposed to be the team that you spent $20 million on your roster, and this was supposed to be the team that can get you to the college football playoff. Yeah, I mean, I think it's time to move on. I mean, just my opinion on it. If you come in with this many expectations, you pay so much for a roster, you invest so much, you have a veteran quarterback coming back. To me, all that tells me it's coaching, and you have to move on. You have to bring back what is a prideful tradition in LSU. You have to be tough, physical, hard-nosed, bring that mentality back to LSU, because this isn't LSU football. This isn't what LSU expects. This is what the fan base expects. This is not what LSU expects by any means of imagination. When you pay that much money, this is unacceptable from everybody. Whether you're all the way at the top, whether you're Scott Woodward, whether you're the board of supervisors at LSU, the president at LSU, all the way down to the fans. I mean, this is unacceptable, and there are going to be a lot of tough questions being asked about this football team moving forward and what it looks like. I can't tell you what next year is going to look like. Hell, I can't even tell you what this next week and this next game against Arkansas or against Alabama, I would say, against Alabama is going to look like. But, man, it's going to look a little different. You want to have to reassess everything. There's going to be some changes after this year. Whether or not they want to fire Brian Kelly, they can raise the money, and if it becomes that bad of a situation, they can do that. But obviously that's a decision they have to make. But whether it's he's gone or if you stay and get one more year, you have to change everything in your coaching staff and make all kinds of different changes, especially for your offensive coaching staff. Yeah, but we'll see what that all looks like, what that all entails. But yeah, there are a lot of major issues, a lot of major questions about LSU moving forward and what this all looks like. So very disappointing, very embarrassing. And I said this in the article. You should go to our website, gridironfootballusa.com, to read more about the game recap, about the LSU football game. But it was raining. It was pouring down rain in the press box after that game. And you're kind of thinking to yourself, like, man, like, this is ironically a rainy, gloomy night. I mean, it casts a pretty dark cloud in the LSU football program and what it looks like moving forward. So LSU, I mean, I know the players still want to try to play hard and try to give them all they can the rest of the year, but this is not what they came here. The transfers came here for, and for the players that committed here, this is not what they came for. So the roster's going to look a lot different. I guarantee it with the transfer portal, with that opening up. We'll see who transfers out, in that situation, what coaches leave. But it's going to look a whole lot different. I think that's the one thing I could probably tell you right now that's probably guaranteed. Next year is going to look a whole lot different, whether it's a new coach leading the job, being a head coach, whether it's Kelly's still there and it's a whole new assistant coaching staff. It's going to look different. The players are going to look different. So I'm very curious to see what the end is going to look like. Is this going to be a total disaster? Can they get a couple wins here? Can they steal one against Oklahoma? Can they steal one against Arkansas? I mean, I don't see how LSU can go on the road and beat Alabama. I just don't see that at all. but it's pretty gloomy right now. And I know this is not what LSU wants, but this is a tough time to be an LSU fan and just to be involved with LSU in general. And we're going to see what's going to be moving forward. But this is not what a lot of people sign up for when we talk about Brian Kelly. But that's pretty much my final thoughts here, guys. I appreciate everybody for spending a couple of minutes with me, and just hearing me talk as well. This was a tough one, man, and it's going to be tough moving forward to see how this LSU football team bounces back. Because just about a month ago, you were sitting as the number 3 team in the country, looking really good, going against Ole Miss, and then ever since then, you've lost 3 of your last 4 games, and now you came from number 3 in the country to being unranked. So tough times in Baton Rouge, man. But yeah, just make sure to follow us. We have a lot of stuff going on besides LSU football. Obviously, Gridiron Football, American Bowl game. We'll have high school football coverage as well. So we do a lot of great things. So make sure to go and support us. Make sure you go to our website, gridironfootballusa.com. If you're watching this on Facebook or you watch this on YouTube, X, just make sure to feel free to subscribe to those channels. Make sure to follow us. And we'll be back on Wednesday at 5 o'clock. We'll talk more about this game as well. I'm about to go to a buddy's celebration a little bit. Him and his, I'm going to shout out to Cameron, a good buddy of mine. Him and Haley are getting engaged. So I'm about to go over there and make my way over there. So that's why I have to cut this a little bit earlier than usual. But we'll talk more about this on Wednesday. 5 o'clock, we'll be live on Facebook, X, and YouTube, kind of taking in your questions and then talking about the bye week, talking about the season and where it all went south, for this year. After a good start to the season, you were undefeated. You finally won that week 1 game against the start of the season against Clemson, and you felt really good. And then that Ole Miss game happened, and the whole season has turned on its ugly head. It's been really bad for LSU, and to be honest with you, I don't know what the future may hold, but it's been quite a disappointment of a season, and one of the most disappointing I can remember LSU ever having. So thank y'all guys for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you all on Wednesday for another live edition of the Chase with Jace. Have yourself a good evening, everybody.